The White House on Sunday claimed victory in a standoff with Colombia over sending back flights of deported migrants from the United States, hours after President Donald Trump threatened tariffs on Colombian imports and Bogota announced similar measures on American goods. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement Sunday night that the government of Colombia has agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including on U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. Leavitt said the tariff orders, which would have imposed 25% tariffs on all incoming Colombian goods and then increased to 50% within a week, would be held in reserve and will not be signed. But Leavitt added that Trump will maintain visa restrictions for Colombian officials and increase customs inspections of goods from the country until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. However, he was not explicit about whether they will also resume visa processing services at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, which hours earlier had been suspended, according to the State Department, in response to President Petro's decision not to accept the flights. Colombia, a country traditionally considered an ally of the United States in the hemisphere, declared the impasse over through a statement read by its foreign minister, Luis Gilberto Murillo, in which he reaffirmed that they will continue to receive Colombians deported from the United States, guaranteeing them decent conditions as citizens subject to rights. Murillo assured on Sunday night that they have the presidential plane ready to facilitate the return of the deportees who were unable to land in Colombia on Sunday morning due to the initial refusal of President Gustavo Petro. However, Murillo did not refer to the increase in tariffs on imports from the United States that Petro had announced earlier in retaliation for Trump's decision. The previous announcement of the mutual increase in tariffs particularly worried economic sectors in Colombia, especially flower and coffee growers, given that the United States is its largest trading partner and the main destination for its exports with a 29% share, according to official figures. The tension began on Sunday morning when Petro announced from the social network X, formerly Twitter, that he was prohibiting the entry of North American planes with Colombian migrants into his territory until the U.S. government establishes a protocol that treats migrants with dignity. Then, in a second message from X, Petro qualified it by saying that he cannot make the migrants stay in a country that does not want them. So he would accept that they be returned in civilian planes instead of military planes. Without treating them like criminals, we will receive our compatriots. Colombia is respected. In response to the initial refusal, Trump announced on his social network, True Social, that he would impose sanctions and tariffs, arguing that the Colombian president's decision endangers American national security. These measures are just the beginning, Trump wrote. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations in terms of accepting criminals who were brought to the United States by force. Initially, Petro reacted with posts on X, and in one of them he included a video in which migrants deported to Brazil are allegedly shown walking down a runway with their hands and feet tied. A migrant is not a criminal and must be treated with the dignity that a human being deserves, the Colombian leader wrote at the time. That is why I sent back the American military planes with Colombian migrants, he explained. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said earlier in a statement to reporters that Petro had authorized the flights and provided all necessary authorizations and then canceled his authorization when the planes were in the air. As part of a series of actions to fulfill his campaign promises to crack down on illegal immigration, President Trump is using active duty military personnel to help reinforce the border and carry out deportations. Two Air Force C-17 cargo planes carrying migrants expelled from the United States landed early Friday in Guatemala. That same day, Honduras received two flights with a total of 193 deportees, announcing what he called urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Trump explained earlier that he ordered 25% tariffs on all goods entering the United States, which would rise to 50% in a week. He also said he ordered a travel ban and immediate visa revocation implications for Colombian government officials, allies, and supporters. All party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government, Trump wrote, will be subject to visa sanctions. He did not say which party he was referring to or provide additional details about the visa and travel restrictions. Trump added that all Colombians will face enhanced customs inspections. The U.S. government did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Associated Press about the aircraft and protocols used in deportations to Colombia. This is a clear message we are sending that countries have an obligation to accept repatriation flights, a senior government official told the AP. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to discuss the issue publicly. Initially, after the announcement of the sanctions and tariffs, Petro said he would stand by his position. But I die in my law. I resisted torture, and I resist you. He also warned Trump that if he imposed 50% tariffs, Colombia would follow suit and increase tariffs on imports from the United States by 25%. North American products whose price will rise within the national economy must be replaced by national production. The government will help in this purpose, Petro added. Colombia is the fourth largest supplier of crude oil to the United States abroad, shipping about 209,000 barrels of oil a day last year. Although the boom in domestic production has reduced the United States' dependence on foreign oil, so the impact of tariffs on gas stations is likely to be less. Trump's actions could have undermined his goal of reducing his country's trade deficit. Unlike Mexico or China, Colombia is one of the few countries with a trade deficit with the United States, which amounts to about $1.4 billion, according to U.S. trade data. The boom in American exports is the product of a free trade agreement the two nations signed 2 decades ago. It is not yet known whether the trade pact allows for tariffs, although it does contain a mechanism for resolving trade disputes. Colombia accepted 475 deportation flights from the United States between 2020 and 2024, fifth behind Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and El Salvador. According to Witness at the Border, an advocacy group that tracks flight data, it accepted 124 deportation flights in 2024. Last year, Colombia and other countries began accepting U.S.-funded deportation flights from Panama. The Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, called its member states to an extraordinary meeting on January 30th to discuss its agenda on migration and Latin American and Caribbean unity, according to a statement from Xiomara Castro, president of Honduras, which holds the pro-tempore presidency of the organization. Petro confirmed his attendance. The tension was quick to generate immediate reactions from Colombia. Former President Ernesto Samper, 1994 to 1998, agreed with Petro, stating from X that Trump's treatment of migrants is inhumane and undignified. Former President Ivan Duque, 2018 to 2022, meanwhile, criticized Petro by saying that returning the planes was an act of tremendous irresponsibility that will bring a cost for the country and its citizens. Colombian Vice President Francia Marquez called for seeking the well-being of migrants and urged ending conflicts and seeking solutions through dialogue for the benefit of Colombians and Americans.